Hi, I'm Danny. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I diagnose a no start condition. I'll do this on my 2009 Honda Civic. This same process will work for many other makes and models. There's many kinds of no start conditions. For instance, you could have a no crank, crank slow, crank starts and then dies, or you turn the key and it just clicks, or maybe nothing happens. There's also when it cranks fine, but the vehicle never starts. So this is what I'm going to be covering in this video today. I'll also cover the cranking issues that I just mentioned in another video. Let's get started. So the first thing that I need to do is I need to verify the customer's complaint. Obviously, I'm the customer, so I know the complaint, but if you were working on, let's say, your neighbor's car or a friend's car, you want to make sure what he's telling you is what's really going on with that car. So I'm going to crank this and let's see what happens. So it's just cranking, it's not starting. I don't see any tach RPMs or anything like that. So next, let's hook up a scanner and let's check for codes. So I have quite a few different scanners. I'm going to show you 3 of them right here. So this one here is from King Bolin. I bought this on Amazon for about 30–40 bucks. I did a full review on that and I'll link it up here and in the description. And this one worked pretty good. I also have this one here. This is from Launch. This was under $200. I also did a full review video on this. This is a bi-directional scanner and it only works on Honda. And then I also have this one from Innova, and this is also a bi-directional scanner, and this is between $450 and $500. And this is the one I'm going to use because the screen looks so much better and it's bigger. So let's go ahead and check our codes and see what else we can find out by just using the scanner. All right, so I've got my scanner hooked up, and if you look here, I can read codes and read what's going on all these modules. ABS, airbag. I mean, there's just a lot of information here, but the only one I'm interested because it doesn't start is the engine computer. So let's go ahead and click that, and then let's read our diagnostic codes, and no DTCs present at this time. So in that case, I want to read some engine data. So let's go back. Let's go back here, and let's go to live data. Now, if your vehicle has a tachometer, you can actually use the tachometer to see if you get a crank signal, but you can't actually measure how many RPMs it is. So it's better to do it with a scan tool. So I'm going to crank the engine again, and let's see what the cranking RPMs do. So 214. And so I'm getting a crank signal. So from here, let's go check the fuel pump. The fuel pump is one of the most common reasons why your car won't start. The reason for this is it's constantly running every time you're driving. It's an electrical component and they do wear out. I actually have a video on how to check the health of your fuel pump, and I'll link that in the description and then up here. But if you made it this far in the video, if you could, hit that subscribe button. 95% of my viewers that watch my videos don't subscribe. And if you subscribe, it really helps me out and I would appreciate it. But let's go ahead and grab an assistant and let's check our fuel pump real quick. It's a quick and easy check. So to check the fuel pump, you're going to remove the filler cap and then have your assistant turn on the key. Go ahead and turn on the key. So what you're listening for is the fuel pump turning on and then shutting off. The fuel pump should turn on for 2 seconds and then it'll go off. Go ahead and turn the key off. So I'm going to take my mic and I'm going to set it right by the fuel pump filler neck. That way you can hear the fuel pump. Go ahead and turn it on. Go ahead and shut it off. And then we'll do that one more time so you can hear that fuel pump turn on. Go ahead. As you just heard, the fuel pump is working, but that doesn't mean it's putting out the right amount of fuel pressure for the engine to run. It also doesn't tell me if the injectors are pulsing. We also checked the crank sensor, but that doesn't tell me if it's getting spark. That's where we're going to go next. We're going to check for spark. To check for spark on this engine, I'm going to have to remove the coils. So to do that, we'll just use a 10 millimeter. We'll go ahead and just remove the 10 millimeter nut. Let me set that up here. The wrench up here also. And then this, you just push the tab. You want to kind of rock the connector off. And then we can just remove the coil. So here's the coil. Let's go ahead and plug that back in. So if you have a spark tester, these work really good. So what you do with these is you put it here and then you ground it to the engine. And then as I crank the engine, I should see spark coming out here. So let me go crank the engine. All right, so I do have spark. So now I'm going to pull a plug to see what the plug looks like. So the plug actually looks pretty good. It doesn't look wet. That's a little bit concerning, but let's go ahead and check the injector pulse. Now to get the injectors, I'm going to have to remove this cover, and there's 2 screws right here. Let's go ahead and get this apart. There's 1. And there's 2. Looks like this has to come off here. Oh, I guess it didn't. And you can't see it, but back here are the injectors. So the best way to test the injector is to use one of these Noid lights. They're really cheap. You can pick them up on Amazon, but they just go in the injector connector, and then you just go fire up the injector and see if it pulses. Let me do that now. I have injector pulse. I also have good spark. My crank sensor is working and my fuel pump runs. My next step is to do an engine compression test. This will verify that the engine is in good mechanical condition. It'll also tell me if I have valve or timing issues. I have a video on doing a compression test, and I'll leave a link in the description. I can also check for fuel pressure by using a fuel pressure gauge. On this car, the fuel pressure is 55 to 65 psi. I'm not going to show you this test in this video. I'll cover this in a future video, so make sure you subscribe. This concludes this video, and by the way, I don't have any issues with my Civic. It starts and runs just fine. I'm just showing you how I would go about diagnosing a no start. One more tip. If you didn't hear the fuel pump running, you would check the fuel pump fuse. If you find that the fuse is bad, you will also lose the crank sensor signal and your ability to see the scan tool data. The most likely cause for the fuel pump fuse to blow is going to be a bad fuel pump. I do have a video on this, and I'll link it in the description. I hope you got something out of today's video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. I'll have a couple of follow-up videos on no starts, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.